Okay, a very, very warm welcome to all the people who are here to attend an amazing webinar on this International Observe the Moon Night. Okay, so Space India, along with St. Martin School, welcomes all of you in this amazing webinar today on 16th October 2021. I hope you all are fine and you all are ready to observe the amazing moon together with us. Now, you all are here and you all must be thinking that what is this International Observe the Moon Night? Right? You all have observed the moon earlier and everyone knows how beautiful it looks. Okay, so now let me tell you what is this International Observe the Moon Night. This International Observe the Moon Night is celebrated every year on 16th October 2021 to celebrate the importance of moon in our lives, and that is celebrated by LRO, NASA. So today we all will look, observe the moon together, the features of the moon. Then finally NASA has decided that there should be one day every year when we should together gather and look at the moon and observe the beautiful amazing features of the moon. So now, as you all know, that today we cannot go out and gather at one place to look at the moon. So today we have decided to virtually get together and observe the moon today and celebrate the International Observe the Moon Night. So with this, I welcome all of you to be a part of this amazing webinar today. So today you are going to see the breathtaking images and breathtaking features of the moon with your own eyes sitting just at your places. Okay, so now let me just tell you some amazing facts about the moon. So Tulika, please go ahead and let our viewer knows about some amazing facts of the moon.
Thank you, Radhika ma'am. A very good evening to one and all present over here. Before we observe the moon, let's peep into the fascinating facts about moon. Fact number 1, the moon is the Earth's only permanent satellite. It is the fifth largest satellite in the solar system after Ganymede, Titan, and Callisto and Io. And these all are the satellite of Jupiter and Saturn. Composition of the moon. Moon is composed of 43% of oxygen, 20% of silicon, 19% of magnesium, 10% of iron, and 8% of aluminium. The first or last quarter moon is not one half as bright as a full moon. If the moon's surface were like a perfectly smooth billiard ball, its surface brightness would be the same all over. In such case, it would indeed appear half as bright. Atmosphere. The moon has only a very thin atmosphere, so a layer of dust or a footprint can sit undisturbed for centuries. Fact number 5, a 95% illuminated moon appears half as bright as a full moon. Believe it or not, the moon is half as bright a full moon about 2.4 days before and after the full moon, even though about 95% of the moon is illuminated at this time. Fact number 6, moon is drifting away from the earth. The moon is moving away from the earth approximately 3.8 centimeter every year. Fact number 7, there's actually two kinds of lunar months, that is sidereal and synodic. Fact number 8, the moon was made when a rock smashed into earth. The most widely accepted explanation is that the moon was created when a rock size of Mars slammed into Earth shortly after solar system began forming about 4.5 billion years ago. Fact number 9, temperature of the moon. In the night time, the temperature of the moon is minus 150 degrees Celsius, and in the daytime, it is 134 degrees Celsius. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, so now all of you got to know amazing facts about moon. Imagine the temperature. Can we survive in that temperature? Okay, so now let's start and now understand some amazing things about the moon. Before we go on and before we actually observe the moon, it is very important to understand the importance of moon in our lives. So, with that, let me tell you that every Karwa Chauth, all the ladies are there on the rooftop and looking at the moon, right? Cannot be celebrated without the moon. Imagine that is the importance of moon in our lives. So, now let me just show you some really amazing things about the moon. And let's understand that why from the very beginning, moon has been so important in our lives. Why is it so important in our lives from the very beginning? Okay, now, so if I'll tell you that why is the moon so important in our lives, it all started years back. It is not very new. If I talk about moon, you can see the image that you're seeing on your screen is the real image of the moon. So now today, when you are going to observe the moon with your own eyes through the the virtual medium, so you all have to observe these features. But before observing these features and before understanding that what is the importance of these features, it is very important for us to know the importance of moon in our daily lives. And is it just started from some years back? No. This has been always there from the very ancient times. Moon has always been very important. Let's start and understand its importance. So, now you have learned about so many fun facts about the moon. So, fun facts. Today, if you are going to observe the moon, I want you people to observe some amazing images on the moon. Okay, that's a challenge, and you have to tell me that what images are you going to observe on the moon. Okay, so now, before we Now, when you have seen this about the formation of the moon, then let me tell you that how this actually formation of moon took place. You have seen this video and you understood that probably 4.5 billion years back, something very impactful explosion must would have happened, right? Yes, the most accepted theory till now about the formation of the moon is called as the giant theory. According to that theory, there is an asteroid sized thing, Thea, which is the shape of the Mars, right? The size is of the Mars, and that got collided into the Earth, right? And because of which, after this, because of the formation of this Thea, you can see this impact happened on the Earth, and then after it started forming a disk of debris. Debris have been formed, and finally that led to the formation of the moon around the Earth. This is how this giant theory says about the formation of the moon. Okay. Now, if I talk about the evolution of the moon, slowly and steadily with time, moon evolved, right? And today, what we see, do you really think that moon is like this from very always? No. The moon today, which we see, the very beautiful moon, it was not like that. It was filled with lava. It was filled with hot gases. And now that was the nature of the moon, and today the beautiful moon that we see, we cannot imagine that at that point of time moon could be like that. Okay, so this is how over the years from 4.5 billion years it took to come from that hot gases that are filled inside it, hot lava that is filled inside the moon, and finally that cool down, and finally we can see a beautiful moon today. Okay. So now let's talk about the path of our story since ages. Since ages, you all have learned about a lot of stories. And this is the very interesting part of the stories. Moon has always been a part of it. And today I challenge all of you, when we are going to observe the moon, I want you to identify today which part or which image do you find on the moon. Okay. So now some of them have found a bunny, some of them have found a bunny, a cute rabbit on the moon. Some of them have found a lady on the moon. Some of them also find that there is a presence of a cute rabbit on the moon. So there can be an n number of images that people used to see on the moon. Okay, and n number of stories that we used to believe. So not only this that we use just the images on the moon, but that has a very strong historic and cultural connection as well. And we all know that, right? If I'd say that, if I talk about any festival, many festivals are related to the moon, and we know that in our Indian culture, how do we celebrate it? Not only in Indian culture, but all around the world it has been celebrated. Okay, now let's look out its initial relationship as a source of light in this dark world. We are talking about a time when the presence of tube light, when the presence of artificial sources of light was not that prominent, was not even there. At that time, in the night time, moon is considered as the source of light that can give them light in that dark world. So that was the one relation that people used to share with the moon. Okay. But if we move on and if we see what else, then it has many relations in the other cultures as well. For example, in some cultures, people used to create images on it, right? And then they used to relate it that there is some man on the moon and there is the presence of some kind of man on the moon. And they used to use to make images, they used to draw images and really relate to it. Okay, not only this, but others as well, like the bunny on the moon. There's a very interesting story about the bunny on the moon. Moon has been a constantly a part of those stories, and that used to be a very interesting story. That there used to be a rabbit, that God has taken him, that rabbit, on the moon and finally placed him there with him, right? So bunny on the moon is one of the amazing stories. Not only this, like if I talk about not only this, but also if I talk about mythology, in mythology as well, there is presence of moon. People used to consider moon as a very auspicious thing. They used to consider moon as an auspicious thing. They used to pray moon. Okay. Now, there are many stories, there are many images in the Roman mythology, in the Indian mythology, in the Chinese mythology. If you talk about, there are plenty of areas where your moon is been actually worshipped. And even today, if we see a lot of Indian festivals, we know that how do we all worship moon, right? We do that. Now, before that, we have talked only about the things. We have talked about how actually culturally, mythologically, we have related ourselves to the moon. But now, let's understand the features on the moon, the actual reason that why there are these black spots there, why there are some very bright rays are there. So let's talk about that today. Now, it's very important for us to know that what are these features? Same percent. Do we know them? Yes, we know them. Today, when you are going to observe the moon, just look at it. There is some black patches that you will find darker than the other areas around. That are mares. Now, there are craters. Craters, that means holes on the surface of the moon. Okay. Now, if I talk about rays, you can see that the illuminating light that are coming from the surface of the moon, that are your rays. Okay. Now, if I talk about terrain, there are some surfaces that you will find that are a bit uplifted from the areas around. That are your terrain. Now, if I talk about another feature, that is your regolith. Now, let's talk about these features in a bit detailed today. Okay, and also do listen to me very carefully because when you're going to observe it today, you need to identify it. Okay, so now the first thing, mare or Maria, right? Mare are the darker areas on the surface of the moon. Earlier, as you know, that moon had a lot of lava inside it, right? So if you see that there will be some darker areas comparative, that got cooled down after some time. As you know, that moon is not that cool that it is today, right? We are talking about a time 4.5 billion years old it is. So initially it was not like this. There was a whole lot of lava that is filled inside it. And that after some time when it got cooled down, that is your mess, that are your darker areas. You can spot them yourself. Okay, so do spot it today as well. Now, another feature and another very important feature is craters. If I talk about the craters, craters are the holes or the depressions on the surface of the moon that are been created by the impact of the asteroids. Earlier, when the surface of the moon is not that, it's not that solid, then asteroid every now and then, you know that there is not much atmosphere, there's no atmosphere, then asteroid used to come and hit on the surface and create an impact like this. And craters are can be as small as a small area, but it can be as big as a big city, right? Imagine. So that is the impact that got created by the asteroids on the moon. Now let's talk about some highlands. Another feature which is called terre, or you can say highlands. Highlands are the areas that are a bit uplifted. If I talk about the surface of the moon, there are some areas, all the areas on the moon are not same. There are some areas that are a bit uplifted. So we call those areas terrain, or you can say highlands on the surface of the moon. Okay. So now, if I move on and talk about another feature and the very important feature on the moon, that is regolith. What is regolith? That is the soil on the moon. Yes, soil on the moon is thinner than a talcum powder. You just hold it in your hands and it'll go like this. Okay, so this is one of the amazing features of the moon. Now, as we have already discussed about the features mare, terre, and we have talked about other regolith rays. Now, it's very important for us to understand phases of the moon, right? Phases of the moon is very simple. That when I say every day, why don't we see that the same shape of the moon is coming? And why don't we see every day the moon is coming on the same time, right? So, now, let me tell you how it all started. Phases of the moon, you all know that we do not see the same side of the moon. We do not see, we only see on which the sunlight is there, and that side is facing towards us, right? Now, if we start with the new moon is that day of moon, we call it as Amavasya in Hindi, right? It's that day of the moon when the sunlight is falling on the opposite side of the moon and the face which is facing us, we cannot see anything, right? For us, it is a new moon day. Then, slowly and slowly, when the time goes on, its cycle goes on, finally we started to get to see the crescent moon, a banana shaped of the moon. Okay, and then after the banana shape of the moon is covered, then we are able to see the half moon, and after the half moon a bit more, that is your waxing gibbous. Again the word is being used, waxing. Waxing means increasing. Okay, then you see after half comes your gibbous, then comes your full moon, and after the full moon, what happens? After the full moon, your size of the moon, then you see that it comes back again to the gibbous. It doesn't mean that now only that part you will able to see on which the sunlight is been fallen on. So we are able to see the waning gibbous. Waning, now waning means decreasing. Now you see waning gibbous. After the waning gibbous, it comes the third quarter. And after the third quarter comes your waning crescent. And again, the same cycle starts from the new moon. So this is how this cycle of 27.5 days goes on, right? It starts from the new moon, again it comes back to the new moon, right? So okay, so the answer is, but the we understood that the part of the light that is falling on the moon, that is not facing us. If there is moon and the light is falling on the other part, we won't be able to see that part, right? Moon is there, but because moon has no light of its own, right? So that is why we cannot just see moon all the time. Okay, so now all of you, tell me, if you today are going to observe the moon, do let me know. I have few questions for you, if you can answer my questions. Okay, so be ready. I have a lot of things to tell you again, but now let me just tell you some more things about the moon. So now over to Apur sir.
Okay, hi everyone. I hope you can hear me. So today Radhika ma'am was just talking about some things related to the moon. I hope I am audible to everyone. I saw that there was some issue. Okay, so as I was saying, Radhika ma'am was just explaining that at times, some parts of the moon become invisible. At times, we can only see half of the moon. At times, we can see only a crescent shape of the moon. These things are called phases, right? You guys are aware of what phases are. I am sure that you guys know about it. Okay, so do you guys have any idea what today's phase of the moon is? Can you let me know in the chat box? Can you let me know in the chat box what is the phase of the moon today? Right. So today we are going to discuss that phase of the moon. And for doing that, I've got a tool with me. It's called Stellarium. So we are going to see tonight's sky using Stellarium and see what exactly is lying out there. Right. Let me just handle Stellarium and I'll bring it up for you guys. So right now I am looking somewhere towards south. So south, southwest is over here, southeast is over here. This is our southern sky. And in the southern sky, we've got the moon. And at the same time, right next to the moon, I've also got Jupiter and I've got Saturn. So I want you all to make your guesses what is going to be the phase of the moon today. Okay, you've got a few seconds. Right. So let me just zoom in. Maybe we will get some clue related to it if I start zooming in. So it does look like a gibbous phase. Most of you have gotten that gibbous phase, right? So yes, it is the gibbous phase of the moon. Today's moon is of the gibbous phase, and we are going to take a look at this gibbous phase of the moon and look at some unique features of the moon, some unique features that have something interesting going on with them. So you've learned about craters, you've learned about Maria, you've learned about terrae. So we are going to see them in detail and we are going to try and analyze what's going on there. So just give me a second. It's going to appear on your screens right about now. Okay. So it should be appearing. So we are going to be covering a number of features of the moon. Like I've got some sinuses, I've got some mares, I've got a few craters. We are going to discuss all of them. So just give me a second. It's going to appear on your screens. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is the sinus iridium. Okay, sinus iridium. So in case you guys remember, we talked about mares and how mares were water features. The people of earlier days, they used to think that in mares there was water and that is why they named it mare or a sea, right? So similarly, there were other water features on the moon as well. And one of those water features is sinus. And the word sinus in Latin, it means bay, like the Bay of Bengal. So kind of like that. So it's relatively smaller than a mare, and that is why it's called a bay. We are going to take a look at a particular bay, and my equipment is just getting handled. It's going to appear, and it's going to appear on your screens in just a second. So this particular crater, this particular sinus, it has some special features. Let's just talk about that while it's getting set up. So it's more than 260 kilometers wide. The crater's floor is 260 kilometers wide, and on the western side of this particular setup, we've got something called the Jura Mountains. The Jura Mountains are there. So we are getting over there. I hope you can see my feed over here. So let me show you the feed over here. That's my telescopic feed. And we are going to move towards sinus iridium. Okay, everyone. Um, right. So these are live views from tonight, how the moon looks like actually right now in the sky. Okay. Right. So this C-shaped thing that you are seeing over here, that is supposed to represent the sinus iridium, and the things that you see on its western rim. This side is the west. So on its western rim, you can see some elevation, some highlands. So those are the Jura mountain ranges on the moon. The moon has mountains. Did you guys know about that? The moon has mountains. So these are some of the mountains on the moon. Can anyone tell me the tallest mountain on the moon? Tallest mountain on the moon. I want to know the tallest mountain on the moon. Please put it in the chat box. Yes, this feed is directly from my telescope. I saw someone just asked me about that. So this is directly from my telescope and this is sinus iridium. So let me show you where exactly are we looking on the moon. Over here, this area of the moon. If you see it in the night sky with your own eyes, the upper part of the moon, there is a sea over there. In case you guys own your own telescopes, you can try to see it yourself as well. This upper part of the moon, it is called sinus iridium. It is 162 kilometers in 260 kilometers in diameter. Okay, it's very wide and it was once filled completely with lava. So that is sinus iridium, right? You can compare the shape. Can you guys find that sea over here? That's the sea that we are seeing over here, right? Let me just go back and let me show you in detail what this thing looks like. So it's a highly magnified view of the moon. Okay, just like this one, we are going to see a few other features of the moon as well. Okay, I see a number of answers have come up, and Mons Huygens. Yes, the question that I asked earlier, that which is the tallest mountain on the moon, the answer is Mons Huygens, and it is not really it's not really comparable to Mount Everest in height. It is way smaller than Mount Everest, but it is still one of the highest mountains on the moon. Okay, so Mount Everest is the tallest mountain on Earth, um, but this one is the tallest mountain on the moon. Okay, we will keep this on our screens for a few more seconds before moving on to the next feature of the moon. Okay, everyone. Okay. So again, I saw something related to moon having no water. I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. There is no water on the moon. I agree with you. People in the olden times, they had only seen water around them. So they assumed that other celestial bodies, the spots on those celestial bodies, they must be water bodies, and they look like that because we are looking at them from a really high elevation point. Okay, we are looking at them from a very high elevation point. That is why they are looking like this. But in fact, now we know that these are results of space rocks bombarding the surface of the moon and creating these craters that were eventually filled up with lava, and that became these basaltic plains. So these basaltic plains, these black areas on the moon, they are just craters filled with lava, frozen lava now. But initially, when we started out, that was not the case. That at that point it was liquid lava. People assume that they are just filled with water. Okay, right. So just a few seconds more before we move on to the next feature. Right, I am going to move to the next feature right now. We are moving our telescope to the next feature, and I want you all to try and spot what this thing could be. Okay, we are going to zoom in just a second. Try to guess what feature this is. This is a type of feature that you guys have learned already. We have already discussed this type of feature. So Radhika ma'am has told you about this feature. Let's find out if you can guess what this feature is or not. Okay. Chandrayaan has discovered water on the moon, but it's not a liquid sea of water. It's not a liquid sea of water. That is what I mean over here when I say that there is no water on the moon. I mean liquid water. So these are supposed to be seas of water, right? Mere means sea. So again, I agree with you, but I'm talking about liquid water. There is no liquid water on the moon. Okay, we are going to go to the next feature. Please try to guess. Please try to guess what feature this is. Okay, I see you guys are getting on the right track. Let's see if you can name the crater as well. Try to guess the name of the crater as well. Okay, we are getting to a crater, right? You guys think we are getting to a crater? So this is going to be one of the most prominent craters on the moon. It is one of the most prominent craters on the moon. Let's discuss what this could be. That white spot in the center, it you guys have selected you guys have guessed right that it is a crater, but which particular crater? Can you name that crater? It is named after a very famous scientist and astronomer. It is named after a very famous scientist and an astronomer. Could you guess which crater this could be? Someone just guessed Atkin Basin. The Atkin Basin is more close to the southern pole of the moon. This isn't exactly that. So yeah, this isn't the Atkin Basin. The Atkin Basin is more close to the southern pole of the moon. Okay, let me show you my diagram again, where we have all the phases of all the what do you call it? All the features of the moon marked. So let's just compare what this could be. This can you guys guess now? I have put the whole diagram in front of you. Can you guess which feature this could be? It's not the Atkin Basin. It's not the Atkin Basin. Yes, it's named after Copernicus. Copernicus was a famous astronomer, and his contribution to the field of astronomy is extreme. So, due to his discoveries, we ended up with the heliocentric model of the world, where we believe that the sun is the center of the solar system and the earth is revolving around it, instead of the other way around, like all the other bodies in the solar system and the universe revolving around the earth. Earlier, people used to believe that, but Copernicus did some exemplary work, and his math made it like extremely impossible to deny this. Okay, So let's take a close look at the Copernicus crater. You can see it over here. That's the Copernicus crater. Okay, we did get another interesting name in the comments. It's called the Sarabhai crater. So, in case you have heard about Vikram Sarabhai is the father of the Indian space program. He also has a crater named after him on the moon. But this particular crater is not the Sarabhai crater, but there is definitely a crater. There is definitely a crater on the moon named after Vikram Sarabhai. It's called the Sarabhai crater. Okay, please take a look at this one while we prepare to move on to the next feature of the moon. Okay, I guess someone just pointed out that we hit 4K subscribers. It's a momentous occasion for Space India. We are thankful for your wishes and your support. Okay, please take a look at the at the Copernicus crater while we prepare to move on to the next feature of the moon. Okay, moving on to the next feature of the moon. We have already started our movement again, and let's see what we are going to end up with next. Let's see what we are going to end up with next. Our next feature is actually quite interesting in its own capacity. It is also quite big in diameter. So the Copernicus crater that we just saw, it is 93 kilometers in diameter. So if I talk about a size comparison, it is bigger than Delhi. The radius of Delhi is small, the size of Delhi is smaller than the Copernicus crater. So the next crater as well, the next thing that we are going to see, it is also it is also larger than Delhi in size. So these things are actually quite big. Even though we are just putting them on our screens, they are still quite big. Okay. Okay, so we actually, there was a feature that was seeming to be invisible in the early half of this evening, but thankfully for our webinar and our whole event, we have just found out that that feature is visible again. So we are covering something called the Gassendi crater. It is 110 kilometers big crater in the northern rim of Mare Humerum. Okay, Mare Humerum has got a crater that you're seeing right now in front of your screens. It's called the Gassendi crater, and it is named after a French astronomer. So he was the first person who reported a transit of Mercury in 1631. So that is his contribution to the field of astronomy. So we right now we are looking at the crater named after him. Okay, Gassendi crater. Pierre Gassendi was the name of this person, Pierre Gassendi. So he was a Frenchman and he reported the first transit of Mercury. This particular crater has got some weird things going on. Okay, some weird things are going on with it. This particular crater, as you guys know, these craters have had magma like boiling up beneath it. So this particular crater is actually floor cracked. Its floor, the floor of this particular crater, it is cracked due to the impact, and you can see those cracks if you take an even more zoomed in look. You will find that these this particular floor has been fractured due to the lava pushing up against it. It's trying to get out. The magma is pushing up against it, and that has made the floor cracked. So if you take an even larger telescope than the one that we are using right now, or maybe use data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, you will find out that there's a network of fractures all over this thing. Okay, there's a network of fractures all over this thing. So that makes this particular crater sort of special. Okay, that is something that makes it special. That's Pierre Gassendi. Please pay attention to this particular feature while we set up the next feature to come up on our screens. Okay, everyone. This is the Cassidy crater. So the next feature, I guess it will also be related to craters somewhat, but it is a very different crater compared to the ones that we have seen till this point. Okay, it's going to be very different compared to what we have seen till this point. Okay, so this particular crater is actually one of the craters that you guys guessed earlier. Can you find out what this one is? You have named this particular crater earlier. You have named this particular crater earlier. Please try to find out what this crater is. Please try to make a guess what this crater is. What are the dots surrounding these areas? Those dots are also craters, but they are smaller in size. Those dots are also craters, but they are smaller in size. Sehaj Kaur, I guess that was your question. Okay, it's named after a famous astronomer. Another hint that I can give you, a famous 17th century astronomer. Okay, you guys are on the right track. Maybe making a typo in your guesses. You can recheck the spelling, but right. Try to recheck the spelling. You guys are making a typo. TYPO, you are making a spelling mistake, a spelling error. Okay. It's the Tycho crater. It's the Tycho crater. Okay, Tycho, Tycho, named after Tycho Brahe, which is the name of a famous astronomer. He did many calculations that eventually supported the heliocentric model that was developed later on. Okay, so Tycho crater. This is the Tycho crater right in front of us on our screens right now. Okay, so it's more in the upper part of the moon. It's more in the upper part of the moon, right? That is why it's not really marked over here, but it's in the upper part of the moon, right? Not really in the lower regions as we have experienced till this point. It's more in the upper part of the moon. Okay. So again, it was named after Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, and it is expected to be somewhere around 108 million years old. So quite old. Compared to the moon, still quite young, but relative to humanity, still quite old. And its diameter is again 86 kilometers, still larger than Delhi. Still larger than Delhi. Or comparable to Delhi. This particular crater, it is comparable to Delhi. Slightly larger than Delhi. You can say that. Okay, so please take a good look at this particular crater because we are preparing to move on to the next. It's supposed to be Tycho crater. Let me just put it in the chat box so that everyone knows what this is supposed to be spelled like. It's Tycho crater. 108, not 108 years, 108 million years. Pooja, it is supposed to be 108 million years old. Named after Tycho Brahe. Okay, so we are preparing to move on to the next feature of the moon, please pay attention where Tycho crater was on the moon. Right? This is going to count later on, so please pay attention to it. Okay, now we are moving slightly away from lunar features and we are moving more towards some historical events that have happened on the moon. Okay, we are moving towards historical events that have happened on the moon. So this particular thing that we are going to show you right now, it is supposed to be related to some historical event that happened on the moon. And it is one of the most famous events that you can think of when you think of the moon, right? So could you make a guess where we are going next? Where we are going next? It is related to a historical event. Maybe somewhere towards the end of the 1960s. Somewhere towards the end of the 1960s. What could that be? Okay, I guess Ansh is getting to the right. Uh, you can make a guess somewhere towards the end of 1960s, right? We are about to zoom in to this particular site. Try to make your guesses before that. I could give you another hint. This place is extremely flat. This place is extremely flat. What could help out a historical event by being extremely flat? Okay, some of you are getting on the right track. Okay, okay. I see some of you are getting on the right track. Right. So we are about to go to the Apollo 11 landing site in the Sea of Tranquility or Mare Tranquillitatis. Okay. We are going to the landing site of Apollo. So Apollo 11 in 1969, Apollo 11 took the first human being to the moon. The first human being Neil Armstrong, the first human being to step on the moon. So that happened in a particularly flat region of the moon, and that area was called the Sea of Tranquility, which is a mare. So we are going to visit that particular landing site. We are going to visit that particular landing site. Again, we won't be able to witness their equipment because that requires an ungodly amount of zoom. But we are still going to be able to see the general area of the landing site of the moon. Okay, it is a bit shaky right now. We are getting there. Big calm water. Okay, that is a very accurate assessment of it. We wanted a calm area of that sea. It is a sea of rocks. I do agree with that, Sahaj. So Apollo 11 landing site, this is where Apollo 11 landed. So let me show you on the moon where it was supposed to land and then we'll compare it. Okay. So Apollo 11 is somewhere around over here, Mare Tranquillitatis, right? So we are in that particular region of the moon. We are nearby that particular region of the moon. So please pay attention to Mare Tranquillitatis and the landing site of the Apollo missions because we are going to move on um, to our final landing, to our final um, destination of this whole journey across the moon. So, right. So please pay attention to this while we are setting up the next feature or the next important location on the moon. So someone just asked me what equipment is being used for this particular telecast. So it's a 10-inch Meade telescope and we are using a Canon DSLR. Okay. We are using a Canon DSLR with a 10-inch Meade telescope. We can't. Okay, I now understand your question, Amit Rathore. We cannot zoom in enough to see the flag. It is not really possible with the amount of zoom that we have. It would require a really extreme amount of zoom to do that. And plus, recently I was reading about the flag. So the flag has actually been discolored over time. So right now it just looks like a very discolored version of the American flag. Okay, we're about to move to the next site, which is going to be the final one that we are going to visit today. Although I have a few more surprises packed in for you, so don't hurry up just right now. I have a few more surprises left for you. Okay, so can you guys tell me what comes after 11? What comes after 11? What do you guys think? What comes after 11? Well, yes. I guess you guys are all have already gotten the hint. So we are about to head out to Apollo 12 landing site. Adi Singh, I guess you just asked me about the dark side of the moon. So since the moon always shows us one side, we cannot point our telescope to the dark side of the moon. It is just not possible. Yes, so we are about to head to the landing site of Apollo 12, which is another flat land, another flat facing that we had spotted for our crafts to land. Okay, right. So we are about to go to that area. Right now, you are seeing that flat land that hosted the people of the. Okay, so Apollo 12 mission, we are currently looking at the location of the Apollo 12 mission, right, everyone? Over here, that is supposed to be the landing site of Apollo 12, and we are looking at the area right next to it. Right. So please pay attention to the Apollo 12 landing site. I have a few more things coming up. We have a few more things in process that we are going to show you. The other side of the moon, Gloria, interesting point that you've raised over here. The other side of the moon actually has way more craters than we see on this side. It is completely battered, it is covered up with craters. So there's that about the other side of the moon. If we flash light from Earth towards the moon, will the light reach the moon? Technically, you'll have to use a very strong light, but it will reach the moon. So it is actually, we have been conducting experiments using this. People who went to the moon, they left a few reflectors on the moon. And you, as a normal person, if you know the location of those reflectors, you can bounce off light from those reflectors. It is possible to do that. So the far side of the moon, it has far more craters than this one. Um, Going by this series, I won't be showing you Apollo 13 because someone is very curious what happened to Apollo 13. So Apollo 13, it actually did not reach the moon. It did not land on the moon because there was an event that led to its premature evacuation of the crew from that particular program. So there was an explosion aboard the Apollo 13 mission, the craft, and they had to abort mission and they had to come back to the Earth. Normal torch lights won't be able to reach the moon. Its intensity is just not enough for you to have any observable kind of effect when you flash that light towards the moon. Yes, we can't see the other side of the moon. It is a fact we can't see the other side of the moon while staying on Earth. We have taken pictures of it by sending crafts that could go to the other side. Okay, so right now we are getting some issues with this lunar telecast because as you can see there is some issue with the weather. So this was the final destination of our moon tour. I have some other things still left, so please stick around for that. um, I'll get back to our tour in just a few minutes. Before that, I have someone with me who has got a revision of all the things that we have done till this point. So I have with me Ansh Solomon, and he's going to have he has some questions for all of you, and he's going to help you revise whatever we have learned today. So Ansh has got a quiz for all of you. Just give me a second, and I'll bring Ansh right to our screens. Okay. Right. So over to Ansh. Um, right. So Ansh, thank you for joining us. It's over to you now. Let's see what Ansh has got for all of us.
Thank you so much, sir. Hello and good evening, everyone. So today, right now, we're going to do a fun quiz on, of course, the topic moon. So yeah, as you can see on my screen, moon quiz. So are you ready for the quiz? Before we get started with the quiz, I have a few instructions for you. You will be given 4 options. Out of those options, you have to tick the correct option. Not exactly tick, but you have to comment down your options in the live chat. So I hope you're all ready. So let's get started. Okay, so question 1 is, what is the name given to the Earth's moon? It's a very common question. So the options are A, Io, B, Luna, C, Heron, or D, Callisto. Comment down your question answers in the live chat. Okay, I see many of you have got the right answers as well. Yeah. So as you said, correct answer is B, Luna. Well done, all of you. You've passed the first question. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 2. The question says, what is the correct shape of the moon? A, square like a table. B, round like a ball. C, triangle like a pyramid. Or D, oval like an egg. Okay, so comment down your answers in the live chat, please. Hurry up. Okay, so I see you're all answering the answer to the first question, and yeah, that's correct. So I see the answers of the second question as well, and many of you have answered. So let's see the answer for this next question as well. Okay, so this might be a little bit surprising to most of you. Yeah, the correct answer is D, oval, like an egg, not round like a ball. We always thought that moon was round, but no, it is actually oval like an egg. See, we can't see the other face of the moon now, can we? So let's move on to the next question. So the next question says, who was the third man to walk on the moon's surface? A. Buzz Aldrin, B. Pete Conrad, C. Will Robinson, or D. Luke Skywalker? Comment on your answers in the live chat, please. Who was the third man to walk on the moon's surface? So yeah, you're getting to the answer now of the third question. Who was the third man to walk on the moon's surface? Many of you have answered. Okay, so yeah, you've got the right answer, and many of you have answered. Okay, so the answer is actually B. Pete Conrad, and most of you actually wrote and commented Buzz Aldrin. Actually, Buzz Aldrin was the second man who stepped on the moon, not the third one. And so the first one was Neil Armstrong, second was Buzz Aldrin, and the third one was Pete Conrad. He was the one who was sent on the mission Apollo 11 in November 1969 as well. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. What phenomena does the moon cause on the Earth? A. Pollution, B. The landslides, C. The tides, or D. The car accidents? Okay, so yeah, you have all answered. Sorry for that. And yeah, you have all answered the question. So the answer is C, the tides. Yeah. So actually, the moon's gravitational force is the one that causes the tides on the Earth. It is the rising and the falling of the water in the oceans and the seas, uh, and the waves also. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. So the next question says, what causes the moon to shine? The sun, pixie dust, bulbs are fixed on the moon, or the Earth's gravitational force? So let's see what you have got as your answers. Okay, so you're moving on to the answer now. Yes. Okay. Yes. So the correct answer is A, the sun. Sun reflects its light towards the moon at night because moon does not have any heat and light of its own, right? So yeah, we can move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question says, the Earth's moon Luna is the largest moon in our solar system. So true or false? A, true, it is the largest moon. B, false, it is the third largest moon. C, false, it is the fifth largest moon. Or D, false, it is the seventh largest moon. Okay. Yeah, you have started answering the question. Okay, so many of you got the right answer. Yeah, it is the fifth largest moon. Answer is false. It is the fifth largest moon. So you might be wondering, what are the five largest moons or five largest natural satellites? We've discussed it earlier in the facts as well, but we can see it here as well. So first is Ganymede, second is Titan, third Callisto, fourth is Io, and fifth is our Earth's moon Luna. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. What do many astronomers think caused the formation of the moon? A, because an asteroid collided with the Earth. B, because Obi-Wan Kenobi killed Anakin Skywalker. C, because an asteroid collided with Mars, or D, none of the above? So, sir and ma'am both have actually given the answer to this question earlier. Let's see if you remember the answer to the question. Yes, yes. So the answer is A, because an asteroid collided with the Earth, and the asteroid was Thea, as we mentioned earlier, as ma'am mentioned earlier in her PPT, right? So let's move on to the next question. Next question says the diameter of the moon is the approximate distance between which of these two Indian cities? A. Delhi to Mumbai, Maharashtra. B. Kashmir to Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. Or C. Gujarat to Guwahati, Assam. Or D. Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Chennai. Please answer in the live chat. Okay, so let's just talk about this point. So the correct answer is D, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Chennai. So did you get this correct? The answer is Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Chennai. The diameter of the moon is about 3,474 kilometers, and the distance between Kashmir to Kanyakumari is 3,579 kilometers. So we can see the route is actually longer than the diameter as well. So yeah, it might be a little bit fascinating, but yeah, it is the truth. Let's move on to the next question as well. Yeah. Next question on your screen. Which was the first crewed mission to land on the moon? A. Luna 2. B. Apollo 11. C. Voyager 1. Or D. Surveyor 1. It's an easy question. Let's see if you get it right. Okay, so many have answered B, Apollo 11. So yeah, let's see if it's the correct answer. Yes, the correct answer is B, Apollo 11. Congrats to you if you got that right. So yeah. Now, continuing with Apollo 11, where did the Apollo 11 lunar module land on the moon? We just saw it with the telescope also. So can you name the place? Sea of Scorpio, Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Storms, or D, none of the above? What is the answer? Where did the Apollo 11 lunar module land on the moon? Yes, so many of you, all of you have got it right. So yeah, the answer is Sea of Tranquility, as we saw it earlier with the telescope as well. So yeah, Sea of Tranquility or Mare Tranquilitatis is the one where the module or lunar module landed on the moon. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. Just okay. So yeah, what was the name of the first dog who went up on the moon? A. BB-8, B. Crater, C. Laika, or D. None of the above. Let's see if you get it right or not. What's the answer to this question? What was the name of the first dog who went upon the moon? Okay. Mrinalini has answered. Naveen. Yes. So many of you have answered. Astro, Radhya. Shionath, yeah, many of you have answered the correct answer. No, actually, the answer is D, none of the above. To this question, the answer could be C, Laika, but actually it is not. It actually Laika was the first dog that went up to the space who reached the orbit. Yeah, so there is actually no dog who has went up on the moon till now. So let's see in the future missions if it happens or not. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. How old is the moon? We've talked about this earlier as well. So let's see if you remember. A, 2000 years old. B, 2.11 million years old. C, 2 years old. Or D, 4.5 billion years old. Okay, so yes, many of you have answered. So yeah, the answer is D, 4.5 billion years ago. That is true. How often does the moon orbit the Earth? So now let's see if you know the answer to this question. Once in a millennium, B, twice a week, C, every 3.27 days, or D, every 27.3 days. So what is the answer to this question? How often does the moon orbit the Earth? Once in the millennium, twice a week, every 3.27 days, or every 27.3 days? Okay, many of you have answered. So let's see the answer to this one as well. So if you thought that it was every 27.3 days, yes, it is the correct answer. So yeah, congrats to you. This is the correct answer. You know it. And if you did not get it right, so don't lose hope. There are many questions left. In which year did an astronaut first set foot on the moon? Okay, so option A, 1967, option B, 2077, option C, 1969, or option D, 2009. Let's see if you get this right. Please answer in the live chat. Okay, yes, most of you have got it right. So yeah, the answer, if you said it was C, 1969, yeah, that's correct. In 1969, Apollo 11 was the first mission, actually manned mission, first manned mission that went up on the moon. Neil Armstrong was there, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins was included in this mission. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. Is there any presence of water on the moon? No, it is not at all possible. Yes, moon is made up of water. Yes, it is in the form of ice caps and glaciers on and under the surface of the moon. Or D, yes, there are seas and oceans up there on the moon. Sir actually gave and concluded the answer to this one as well. So let's see if you remember what was the answer to this question. Is there any presence of water on the moon? Okay, so many of you have written, no, it is not at all possible. So this might be a little bit fascinating to you. The correct answer is yes, there is water up there on the moon, but it is not in the form of liquid water like seas and oceans, not like that, but actually it's in the form of ice caps and glaciers on and under the surface of the moon. So yes, many of you got it right. Let's move on to the next question. Scientists say that the moon is moving further away from the earth every year. But by how much? A. 100 centimeter. B. 4.7 centimeter. C. 1 meter. Or D. 3.5 centimeter. So many of you have answered to this question. So yes, answer D is the right option and the right correct answer to this question. So yes, answer is 3.5 centimeter. Every year, 3.5 centimeter moon moves or draws away from the earth. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. And this is the last question of this quiz. And let's see if you get this right one. Who was the first woman to set foot on the moon? So options are A. Valentina Tereshkova, B. Kalpana Chawla, C. Princess Leia, or D. None of the above. Who was the first woman astronaut to set foot on the moon's surface? A. Valentina Tereshkova, B. Kalpana Chawla, C. Princess Leia, or D. None of the above. Okay, so yes, many of you got it right. So the answer is none of the above. But NASA is going to send a mission. I think it is Artemis, and NASA has concluded that it will be sent during like in this decade only. And in that mission, they are going to send the first woman astronaut to set foot on the moon surface. So till now, there is not even a single woman astronaut, but let's see if there will be or not. Hope so, there will be. So yeah, so how many did you get right? I'm sure you learned something new too. So over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Ansh. You have helped revise all of that very concisely. And if you guys remember, when I showed you Stellarium, I showed you some interesting things, right? We saw the moon, and apart from the moon, we saw two other objects as well. Not just the moon, but two other objects as well. Do you guys remember? There are two planets out there in the sky today. And today, as a bonus, we are going to watch those planets. We are setting up the equipment right now. It is going on as I speak. So we are going to set up the equipment and we are going to see those two planets, that is Jupiter and Saturn. They are about to arrive on our screens. So as you remember, we saw them being in our skies. There we can see them. Let's zoom in a little bit. So right. So right next to the moon in the sky, you can see Jupiter. You can see Jupiter, and just below it, you can see Saturn. They are out there, and today we are going to go out and we are going to see it. I hope you guys are happy with this bonus. Is this the bonus that we promised? Is this good enough? Okay. I hope it's good enough for all of you. Right? We are setting it up and it's going to appear in just a few seconds. Right? So it's about to arrive on your screens and it's here. There you can see it. We have just pointed our telescopes towards Jupiter. We've just pointed our telescopes towards Jupiter. You can just see that. Okay. So I guess if you pay attention, this is the time where you can see the bands on Jupiter as well. All the bands, they if you pay attention, you could see it. You can also see some disturbances because it is currently being affected by the atmosphere between our telescope and Jupiter. So that is causing that slightly hazy effect that you can see, but still, that is Jupiter. And in the meantime, I wanted to bring up something quite important because today we have discussed that a lot, right? So today we have discussed that a lot, the presence of water on the moon. So many of you keep saying that yes, there is water on the moon. There is frozen water on the moon. We keep saying that, but have you guys ever thought how did water get on the moon? How did water get on the moon? This is not a recording. In case someone's still wondering, this is not a recording. We are live. We are showing you the sky as it is right now. The telescope is pointed towards Jupiter as it is right now in the sky. Okay. So yeah, I was talking about water on the moon. How did water get on the moon, or how did water form on the moon? Okay, that shake is due to our telescope shaking a little bit. No need to freak out, right? So Jupiter isn't shaking in its orbit, it's just our telescope shaking a little bit. Okay, so right, the reason for the presence of water on the moon, currently the current evidence, it suggests that there are oxygen rich rocks on the moon. There are oxygen rich rocks on the moon, rocks that contain a lot of oxygen. And solar wind is carrying a lot of hydrogen towards the moon. When these two things come in contact with each other, something happens. And if you guys remember the chemical formula of water, H2O, that is hydrogen and oxygen, these two end up combining, and that is what is creating that water on the moon. Okay, I just wanted to clarify this. Um, I just wanted to clarify this. Why do we think there is water on the moon, or why water is currently present on the moon? So there we have it, Jupiter. Right now we've zoomed out a little bit, but you can see it in its full glory out there as it is tonight. Again, in case people are still wondering, this is a 10-inch Meade telescope. Palvi, it is a 10-inch Meade telescope. Okay, again, don't freak out. Don't freak out. We have not managed to destroy Jupiter. It's just a temporary lapse. It's just a temporary lapse. Jupiter has not exploded. I want to reassure you. Okay, I did promise Jupiter and Saturn, but sadly, I am not someone who can control the weather. It is beyond my capabilities. So currently, Saturn has got clouds over it. So we will wait just for a few seconds. In the meantime, I have something important to tell all of you. Okay, all the people who have witnessed today's webinar, I have something important to share with all of you. So I want you all to pay attention. Today, we learned a lot about the moon. We learned about different aspects of the moon. We saw different parts of the moon. We learned a little bit about the history of the moon. Okay. So, what to do with it? What to do with it? Today was supposed to be the International Observe the Moon Night, but this event is not limited to tonight. You can stretch it out over the next week, up to the next week. Okay. What are you supposed to do with the information that you have collected? I have a task for all of you. I want you all to become ambassadors of astronomy. Okay. Today I have taught you a lot about the moon. My associates, they have taught you a lot about the moon. I want you all to take that information and to transmit it to people around you. I want you all to celebrate your own Observe the Moon Night. How will you do that? You are supposed to invite your parents, your friends, your relatives, whoever would like to accompany you. And you can set up a telescope if you have it. If you have a telescope, you can set it up. You can point it towards the moon. You can show them different features of the moon. Okay, that is one thing that you can do. If you don't have a telescope, you can just bring them out and help them admire the beauty of the moon, because that is the spirit of Observe the Moon Night. Okay, so these are two things that you're supposed to do regarding organizing events. Other than that, I also want you all to do one more thing. I want you all to start a moon journal. Okay. In the description of this particular video, I will add a link in a few minutes. Using that link, you can get a PDF related to how you are supposed to maintain a moon journal, right? I want you all to take a look at that, and I want you all to develop your own moon journals. I want you all to have a habit of observing the moon, observing its state, observing its rise time and set time. Okay, these are two things that I want all of you to do. So please please organize your own Observe the Moon events. Tell us about it using the hashtag Observe the Moon and tag at the rate Space India on Instagram or whatever social media channels you use. We are there. So just tag us in there, and we would definitely like to see what you're doing with this. Okay. So these are your tasks related to International Moon Observe the Moon Night, right? So with that, I think we still don't have clear skies. We still don't have clear skies, so we won't be able to see Saturn. But we have seen the moon, we have seen the features of the moon, and today we have understood its cultural and its astronomical importance. And we, along with that, I guess we did talk about the first woman going to the moon in the future. So it holds limitless potential. It is an object of limitless potential. So we're going to take one final look at the moon, and then we are going to disperse. Okay, we are going to switch over to one final look of the moon. The telescope is being set up right about now, and we are going to take one final. We're going to take one final look at the moon. The journal's PDF will be available to you shortly in the description of this video. Just after this video ends, that link will be available to you. Okay. Other than that, I have one more treat for all of you. I will expose that treat. I will tell you about that treat just as soon as the moon is arranged. Okay. I have one more small surprise left for you. I have one more thing in my bag. So just stick around for that while my telescope is being set, while our telescope is being set, and we are going to point it towards the moon. Again, those asking for the details of the telescope, we are using a 10-inch Meade telescope. 10-inch Meade telescope. Okay, the moon is getting arranged shortly. I want you all to stay patient. Okay, it takes time to point our telescopes towards a particular object. So please stay patient. Please stick around. I am arranging the moon, and apart from the moon, I have one more treat left for all of you. In case you guys are interested in the telescopes or buying the telescopes, you can get them from learn.space-india.com. We have got a range of telescopes over there. So you can visit that website and you can access the telescopes over there. Okay. Right. So we are about to go live and we are going to give you the final look at the moon. It is just about to be online. 76 mm telescopes are also good enough to look at the moon. In fact, 50 mm telescopes are also good enough to look at the moon. Just the level of detail that you can see, that will vary a little bit. Okay. So the final look at the moon is ready. And let me tell you about the final surprise that I have for all of you. So all of you are eligible to get your own certificates for attending this webinar. You will be able to download those certificates by visiting the link in the description. Okay, I've left a link in the description box. You can visit that link. You can download your own certificate, insert your name over it, and you will have a certificate of participation related to this webinar. In the end, I leave you with the moon. Again, in case you enjoyed this webinar, in case you had fun, I request you all to like this video. It helps us out. If you can subscribe, that would be even better because these things, they are important for us to succeed. Okay, so please try to like this video. Please try to subscribe to this video. Again, we have got the moon in our sights right now. Roshni, I do agree with you. Roshni says that the moon is a piece of art. I truly believe that. It is a piece of art. Nothing else can describe the true beauty of the moon. No other statements come close to it.